Might have to start doing this show more frequently because every episode now it seems like there's a backlog of topics to discuss on Viking Red Weekly, presented by Footy Talks. My name is Mitchell Tierney, and today is a Toronto FC game day, but one where the club will have a mountain to climb while basically playing on top of the little mountain. With that being said, it sounds like help is on the way. More transfer rumors emerging this week, and we'll discuss those ahead on the show. We also have another big guest. We're on a good guest streak here right now. We'll have Luke Wileman, the voice of Toronto FC on TSN, will join us in just a little bit. But as always, Jeffrey P, Nesker, Michael Singh, you guys ready for another late night? Because I am not.
Hey, do you boys smell that? I think that's some magic in the air, boys.
Oh,
I think that's some magic in the air, gentlemen.
We played at Disney one time.
Could this be? Could this be the night? Could this be the night? Miracle in Mexico. I already have a name ready. Let's do it.
Wow.
Nice. I like it. Nothing will make me happier than when I get to recut our intro and take the shot of me with my mask off out of it, just to prove that we're back to normalcy. So I noticed that when we were watching that. Yeah.
Soon.
Yeah.
We're making progress.
Making progress. Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, let's start the show, I guess, on a bit of a down note by talking about that TFC loss to Cruz Azul a week ago. We didn't have a post game show for that one, which for obvious
Thank God.
reasons. I mean, yeah, it would have been it wouldn't have been the greatest show, I don't think. But TFC losing 3-1 at home. Jonathan Osorio scoring the lone goal. Honestly, probably could have been a lot worse. I mean, Cruz Azul had a goal VAR'd off in the introduction of VAR to CONCACAF, which surprisingly helped Toronto FC. I think that was probably the biggest surprise of the game. They also probably should have conceded a penalty. There was a Jonathan Osorio handball in the box that, who knows? I mean, we've seen them given, as they say. But yeah, I think that is one of the biggest takeaways from this game. And what are your guys' thoughts? Because obviously we talked about how important that home leg was and didn't go anywhere near plan for Toronto FC.
Can we talk about set plays? I mean,
yeah.
Jeez. And I did not like that comment. I mean, we're talking about magic in the air. It seems to be a theme because I don't want to paraphrase, I'm going to, but what did he say when someone asked him if they should maybe, practice defending and taking set plays? And he said, there's no magic formula to do it. That doesn't really wash, Chris, because by my accounts, practicing it covers both attacking and defending when you're doing it in an inter-squad training setting. So
to his credit, I mean, he said that he took fault for that. Essentially, like he did say, like it comes down to a lack of intensity and a lack of willingness to get to the ball. So, I mean, he said he's going to get it right. I believe him right now. Let's just hope that it trends in the right direction, because I don't think it can get much worse than it did against Cruz Azul.
I don't think so either.
I really don't. I think that's the gold standard of not being able to defend set plays. Like that was. I have the goals here from the show that we'll never do, but I don't know. I don't actually want to watch them ever again. Like I don't know if my heart can take
Absolutely
it.
Horrid. But that being said, Jeff, like you point out set pieces, call me crazy if you guys want. I still think that's a winnable game. I think that's a winnable game for Toronto FC. I think they're a beatable team, at least, Cruz Azul. If Toronto FC have, their full arsenal of players, if, they're playing their game and they're not giving up careless set pieces, careless giveaway by Josie Altidore, which, by the way, why does he look like he's trying so hard every time he makes a pass? He looks like he's trying way too hard to complete the most simple pass, but that's a completely different story.
Well, before you get too ahead of yourself, was that a troll saying that once we have our full arsenal back? I just want to make sure.
I did think of you a little bit there, but it was honestly unintentional.
All right.
It was honestly unintentional. That's hilarious.
Yeah.
I really do believe that this team has what it takes to earn a result. Can they score 3 at the Azteca? Yeah, I don't know. I don't know about that. That's why I said we'll need a bit of a miracle tonight if that happens.
Yeah. I think 5 of 11 goals I was reading Toronto FC's conceded from dead ball situations, so that's definitely not ideal. But that was another takeaway, as you mentioned, from the first leg was, Cruz Azul were good. Definitely, they were far and away the better team. But I mean, they didn't from open play. It was every and all those aforementioned chances were all FC clear breakdowns, like clear and obvious awful errors that so if there's something to take out of that, it's like you said, Cruz Azul could be beatable again. A monumental task ahead of them if they won, but yeah, it's I think that's one thing that clearly they can improve on, and it will instantly make things so much better. And the thing with that as well is, I was saying this on I wonder how much time they've actually spent on it in the training ground, because we know they're trying to implement a new system, and that's probably taken a lot of the time. And I wonder if that's taken maybe away from set piece training a little bit.
I think that's a fair assessment. I mean, there's only so many hours in the day, and when training is already massacred by COVID protocols, it can't. I mean, the proof is in the pudding, guys. It can't be that high on the list of priorities, not after that game. So, yeah, I'm inclined to agree with you.
Yeah, I mean, like Mitch said, they're probably focused on a lot of different things, but especially with the new coach coming in. I can't imagine them not practicing set pieces if they didn't. Wow. But I bet you that was definitely a big focal point this week leading up to this match. Lots of set piece training, corners, free kick set pieces, maybe even PKs, because you never know tonight. You never know tonight, folks. We could get ourselves in a situation where we need PKs.
Mike, I just flashed to next week where we're like, God, they scored 8 on us through the run of open play. We didn't concede a single set piece, but they absolutely destroyed us. Anyway, go ahead.
Yeah, what's going on, everybody in the chat? We see you guys. You guys are buzzing there. Will, Ivan, Nick, we see you, man. No, we did not talk about Kemar Lawrence yet, which I'm sure we will get to shortly. We have lots to say there, but let's put that Cruz Azul match in our rear view. I think we can move on now. Let's talk about some more positive things. What do you think, Mitch?
Yeah, for sure. Let's talk about Kemar Lawrence. I mean, you said help. According to Joshua Cloak, Sam Stachel, Paul Tenorio of the Athletic, Toronto FC, from Anderlecht to the Belgian, you're making international. Played 5 seasons for the New York Red Bulls and 11 in 2018 before moving to Europe. Cruz also his green card 2018, so he's not going to count as an international player. That's critical in how many weeks in a row TFC's get away an international spot. Michael, you talked last week about the clubs to move for a fullback. How much could this back time?
First of all, Mitch, your Wi-Fi sucks.
but
not again.
Exactly every word he said in that question, and I'm sure you followed as well. So
I got you. Yeah, last week I was talking about this. The one need that I believe TFC needed was a fullback, specifically a left back, because that's the position right now on the roster where they lack the least amount of depth, or the most amount of depth. Like, they don't have very many options at fullback besides Richie Larea, Aro, and Justin Morrow. In terms of Kemar Lawrence, the player, I mean, wow, I did not believe TFC would be able to get a player of that caliber for that price, especially considering he still is 28 years old and doesn't count as an international player. Like, this is, again, another savvy piece of business by Ali Curtis and Bill Manning. Like Mitch said, it's a domestic player who has experience playing at Anderlecht. It's not like he wasn't in the side there either. And they got him for a cheaper price than what he was bought for a year and a half ago. I think he was bought for something around 1.45 million, and they're going to get him for around 500,000, which is really significant for obviously the price wise. It saves TFC some money, but also because the salary budget hit. That transfer fee usually counts against the salary cap. Now, if he signs, for instance, let's say a 3-year contract, that 500,000 is divided by 3. And tacked on top of his salary. So it's a small fee relatively. And again, for a player of his caliber, MLS best 11, he's familiar with Ali Curtis. He's familiar with Chris Armas. They know obviously having spent so much time with New York Red Bulls, they know exactly the type of player that he is. He's clearly someone that they like and believe that can fit into the system. A Jamaican international, and that's a quality piece TFC are adding to their roster, which is already a strong roster. So for them to go out and shore up their weakest position, I guess let's call it, by getting a player of this caliber, I think it's a very, again, a savvy piece of business. And one more point I want to make on that is it also perhaps in preparation for Richie Laryea departure? Are they bringing in someone like this, preparing for Richie Laryea to potentially move on to Europe? Maybe not, this summer, but perhaps after the season, because Richie Laryea obviously has that interest. He obviously is, one of the league's best fullbacks, if not the league's best fullback right now. He's Toronto FC's most important player so far this season. Could they be prepping, for Richie to depart and shift Oro back to his natural right back position and have Kamar Lawrence be their full-time left back moving forward?
Where there's smoke, there's fire, Mike. I just wanted to interject. I've actually met him. I mean, before we had a show on Footy Talks, I used to get Mitch to put me on the guest list on all Footy Talks events, and Kamar spoke at that pregame rally for the Canadian men's national team. He was there with Scotty Arfield. KJ interviewed. Oh man, I am thinking of Kamal Miller. Sorry. Edit button. Oops.
I'm sure Kamar Lawrence is still a good guy. Because when you were saying that, I'm like, Jamaican international. Why is he played for the Red Bulls too?
Oh man, and you even said it before. Can we get Kamal Miller instead? I really like him.
That's fine.
All right, moving on.
He's with Montreal, man. We can't be asking for those players as much as Mitch likes to ask about Sam Piet here. We can't be doing that here. But yeah, what do you guys think of the transfer though overall? I mean, we can't ask Jeff because Jeff thinks he's Kamal Miller. So Mitch, what do you think of the transfer?
Damn.
Oh no. 1 second here, boys. I'm gonna have to rejoin. I think the Wi-Fi is cutting out.
No worries. No worries.
Yeah. Let's talk about Kamal Miller. God, I'm sorry to the entire planet. That was. I want a mulligan for that one.
That's all right.
Yeah.
What's going on, Rick?
Cool.
We see you there in the chat. Great point about Laryea potentially leaving. Yeah, man. I think the interest is real, and on Extra Time, the MLS official podcast this past week, Richie Laryea was a guest, and on that show, he was asked, still potentially what are his aspirations, and obviously this is a guy who had a significant ascension. With the last couple of years with Toronto FC, he really broke onto the scene, made that fullback position his own. Almost in his own sort of way, he almost revolutionized that fullback position for Toronto FC because it was a team that really lacked some width, and Richie Laryea was that guy to give them that option. So with him breaking onto the scene now, we got to ask, he's still 26 years old? What's the next step for this guy? And for Richie Laryea on Extra Time, he was saying he still does want to go to Europe. That still is his aspirations. Maybe it's not right now, but at a certain point, hey, why not?
It's got to be soon. It has to be soon, Mike.
Yeah, I mean, he's getting up there for sure. And another point I want to make is, we have that link to Besiktas, which just isn't going away. And funny enough, Richie Laryea's best friend is Kyle Larin. So yeah, we can talk about the Atiba Hutchinson links, but also there's that link there with Kyle Larin and Richie. So I'm not gonna push that rumor to the side. I just don't know if it's gonna happen right now, but be on the lookout for it because I really do believe Richie wants to get there.
And he's got to go soon. He's 26 years old. He's got to, if he's going to go, he's got to go soon.
Yeah, exactly. He's not getting any younger. Mitch, are you back with us?
Yeah, hopefully I'm back with us, and I think our guest is actually with us as well. So we'll get
amazing.
I'm in here in a moment. Yeah, hopefully the Wi-Fi holds up here. I'm not sure what's going on elsewhere in the house, but now joined by Luke Wileman, the voice of Toronto FC on TSN. How you doing, Luke?
Hey, good to be with you. Thanks for the invite today.
Of course, Luke, and We're really happy to have you. I was telling my girlfriend, I was like, yo, we're going to have another really good show this week we got Luke Wileman on, and keep in mind that she's a very casual soccer fan, like definitely not a diehard, doesn't watch all the games at all. So she's like, "Who's that?" And without hesitation, I was just like, "Jose Altador," and then she's like, "Oh, that guy." I'm like, "Yeah, that guy. That's the guy." So yeah, super excited to have you on here, Luke. Like, really, really looking forward to this.
There's a lot of times when sometimes you meet people and they just watch the games, they don't see the pregame show or watch it, so they don't actually know what you look like. It didn't happen to me, but I was with Stephen Caldwell when the all-time greatest moment like that happened. And it was in Atlanta after TFC won in the Eastern Conference final last year. Was it last year now? 2019, forever ago. Mm-hmm. Last time we actually were able to travel to do some soccer games. And we were outside the locker room in the cavernous underneath of Mercedes-Benz Stadium. And the TFC players and staff and some family were coming out of the locker room, and Sloane Stephens is standing just a few yards over from where we were, waiting for Josie to come out. And somebody came over to Stevie, and Stevie starts talking, right? And in his accent and talking loudly so she could hear. And she says, "Oh my goodness, it's you. I didn't know it was you. You're the guy I listen to when I'm watching Josie playing." Right? So Steve's like, yeah. She, "Oh, I love you. So that was the best time that moment happened with Sloane Stephens recognizing that she was standing next to football/broadcasting royalty in Stephen Caldwell outside the locker room in Atlanta.
There you go. That's awesome. Awesome stuff.
I told Jeff he wasn't allowed to do an impression. I didn't think it would be Michael that ended up doing one.
It was pretty good, though, eh? It was pretty good.
I'm just trying to deal with my cock.
Any kind of impersonation is fine, to be honest with you. I mean, at least it means that somebody cares or wants to listen.
All right, Mitch.
Well, hopefully bearing with my Wi-Fi here. I don't want to bring it to a bit of a downer, but how much have you missed BMO Field and live like that?
Yeah, it's first of all, it's a real privilege to still be able to do what we love doing in this time, right? When a lot of people aren't able to. And that wasn't lost on me, especially last summer in August when we got the chance to be back at BMO for those 2 or 3 games, even though the stands were empty. It was special to be able to be there and be back inside. It's always better when you're calling a game in person. For a few years now, we've been doing some of the road games off monitor anyway, so that's not as difficult for a play-by-play person, I think, as it is for the analyst, because the analyst wants to see the whole pitch. They want to see the trends that are going on in the game. For me, calling the game, it's not as big a deal watching it off the monitor, but what you really miss, and it's probably the same for some of the players, I've heard them say it's just the energy that the stadium brings, those big moments when you're able to ride with the crowd and get excited along with what is going on in the stadium. Obviously, it's nowhere near the same. It's a lot more. I actually find it easier calling games off monitor when there is the artificial crowd noise being pumped into the stadium and into our headset. Because even though it's not perfect, it still gives you some kind of a lift. Like the MLS's back tournament was just great to be back seeing games and being able to call games, but it was really quiet when you're used to having something there in your headset and all you can hear is the crowd noise or even specific instructions from Greg Vanney. But yeah, it's been interesting, and hopefully we're getting towards the end now. It was great to see some of the games already early on in the season. I know it's different and difficult for the Canadian teams, but some of the crowds that they've had in Major League Soccer and Atlanta in a few weeks are going to have almost a full house at Mercedes-Benz. So we're getting there. Obviously, it's not going to be the same ever until we get to sit back in BMO Field and see everybody and the energy of the South End and just what that can bring to a broadcast into a game. Hopefully, it's sooner rather than later, but who knows with that one. But yeah, it gets by the end of last year, I'd had enough of calling games with nobody in the stadium. It's a completely different beast in terms of the energy that you feed off.
Absolutely. I'm having cognitive dissonance here because your image behind the standard bookcase is burned into my cornea, so this new location is making me a little weird. But I'm gonna, here we go. What's your all-time favorite goal call, and why is it Josie Altidore sets BMO alight on its biggest night?
See, that's the boring answer, right? And it is. It is the boring answer. Why is because I felt I called a good call. I enjoyed it. It was a moment that had been a long time coming. I think everything plays into that moment, in that it's the pinnacle of, for somebody who I moved here in 2006, just before TFC was starting. So I've been there. I was on row one of the press box for that first home game against Kansas City. I think it was the Wizards at that point, before they. I think
they were the Wiz, never the Wizards. It was always the Wiz.
Yeah, I refuse to call them the Wiz. I was there, the seat cushion day. So to go through all of that and to spend some time in the front office, initially working with the club there, and before that with Fan 590, doing the games the first year, and then moving to TV and Goal TV, TSN, and going through so many dark days in terms of calling games. And it's not like I'm a TFC fan. I have an affinity with all three Canadian teams. I want them all to do well for the growth of Major League Soccer and for these teams here. But we needed a moment where Toronto and Ontario, and to a certain extent across the country, their eyes were fixed on Major League Soccer. And it was even better that it came after what went the year before, when the penalty shootout, the loss. That's why I think as a first time, I don't think that would have been as big a moment if it had happened in that 2016 final, because what made it even more of a special moment was everything that had gone leading up to that. And
build up,
TFC, it wouldn't have been TFC to just go and win it the first final they were in. You have to go through the pain and the heartbreak to be able to get to that moment. And having known that the year before, on a Saturday night, there were more people watching MLS Cup than Hockey Night in Canada, and the fact that a year after that everybody had their eyes fixed on that moment was pretty special. So that's the reason behind it. And just the way that BMO Field was erupting when that goal went in, and also the fact that as a commentator, you want it to be a moment, on a big moment like that, where it's not a scramble in the 6-yard box. You have no idea who got the last touch. Are VAR going to pull it back? Is it going to be, is it an own goal? Did it go off somebody's shin? Was it like, on the way, did it take a deflection? You want it to be nice and clear cut so that you can have that call. You've got it. You know who it is. You're not going to screw it up and say it's the wrong person. So yeah, that's why that's number one, and it'll take some beating, because even if they got to another MLS Cup, like that first one and that first moment there is difficult to beat.
Goosebumps.
Did you practice? Did you Neil Armstrong it? Did you know you were going to go for that full alliteration beforehand, or did it just because it was like Yates? It was ridiculous. Like it was perfect.
You know what? I think it might have been something that I had gone through in my head. I hadn't written anything down. The year before, actually, we were sitting in the TSN studios doing the Premier League coverage on the morning of the MLS Cup against Seattle the first time around. And the games were going on, and we were just sitting chatting. And it's me, Stevie, and KJ. And KJ said, so what are you going to say when they win it tonight? I said, what do you mean? He's like, well, for final call, it's going to live forever. You got to nail it. You got to get it right. What have you? So I said, well, I don't know. I mean, you come up with something. So KJ came up with a couple of different versions, and I got them in my head. And
nice.
Even I think Seattle won, and it was like they'd been bottom in July, and I came up with from worst to first or something. That was KJ's line, right? That was KJ who'd given me that one earlier in the day. So then the following year, I'd actually thought about some of the different things, but it has to be something in the moment. It has to be like, that call doesn't work if Josie's not jumping into the fans' arms and everyone's going crazy, right? Yeah. So I think I formulated a few thoughts about it, but not actually in that way, in that order, thinking about that specific time.
Iconic, Luke.
Iconic,
that'll forever be synonymous with, the
greatest. Because that's obviously the top one. there are other moments, like the Vasquez goal was great. Even the end of when they won the Supporters' Shield at home. There are other weird goals down the years as well. But one of the other ones that I would put up there wasn't even a TFC goal. Zlatan's 500th career goal at BMO. Just the way that he scored it, with the way that the fans were standing applauding this guy, this legend of the game that I'd grown up watching, admiring, like to do that in Toronto. There aren't many times you're calling a game and you know that moment is going to be seen around the world. Whether it's your call or not, it doesn't matter. But you're in the stadium for something that happens that everybody around the world is going to see and look at. So that's up there as well. But I mean, it's not ever going to beat calling a Canadian team winning an MLS Cup.
That's
made
spinning.
some very unprofessional noises in the media room when that goal went in.
Yeah,
well, that's a good thing. I can pass off noises as commentary, right? So that's the no cheering rule in the press box does not quite apply. Although I'm very, very wary or cognizant of the fact that we're calling it for a national audience, and I'm not. You know, if Seattle wins it, the moment might not seem as joyous, because we're calling it for a Canadian audience, but it's still a big moment. And when they're winning it at home in front of 65,000 people and the goals are going in and the crowd's like that, that draws me along as well, right? And that, like you say, it's something that you miss when you're calling the games in empty stadiums.
Of course. Let's take things back to TFC, the present day TFC right now. Early on, there haven't been some of the prettiest moments for Toronto FC. In your opinion, is it too early to kind of, have some takeaways about this team, given, the injury situation and, it's just the start of Chris Armas's tenure? Or do you have some takeaways that you can kind of take out from this first 5 matches?
Yeah, I think it's too early to either be too despondent and too down about things. Or, I mean, I don't think anybody's getting carried away after what we've seen so far. There's a lot of work to be done and a lot of changes in terms of the way that they need to improve. But I think it's always tricky to judge anything when you're in a position where they're playing Champions League and playing MLS games as well. The squad's not complete. We know now that Soteldo's coming in, probably Kamal Lawrence as well, which is going to make a difference. This was a team that didn't do anything in the offseason apart from add a new coach and a new coaching staff. And I like what Chris Armas has to say about where he is and where he wants to go to. I do think that defensively they're suspect, and we've seen that from set pieces in the opening weeks of the season. I think that slightly hard to judge in terms of the games we've seen with Montreal and Vancouver in Major League Soccer. I didn't think they'd get by Lyon, and they managed to dig deep and find a way to do that. Looking ahead to tonight, I actually don't think I don't think it would have been the worst thing if they'd lost to Lyon last time out in terms of having to juggle 2 competitions. Although the good thing now with the Champions League is there's a break and you don't restart it until the middle of summer. But I think they are going to be a team that is around the top 4 of the Eastern Conference. Whether they're going to be one of the top 2, I'm not sure. I think there's still a lot of questions that we have to see answers to first, in terms of how, when everybody's fit. How long it's going to take Pozuelo to get back is one thing, but how, when everybody is fit, he's going to fit all the pieces in. I mean, Soteldo comes in. If he plays the way he does, who's playing in midfield? If Pozuelo's in, where's Osorio going to fit into that? Who's playing on the right side? Is it still going to be Marky Delgado, or are they going to, is it going to be Bradley and Osorio? There are so many different questions. Is he going to change the formation depending which pieces he's able to bring in? Where's Richie Larrea going to play? Is he going to play Auro and
Kamar
Lawrence as the fullbacks? Is Lawrence going to play on the left side of a back 3? The sample size is too small right now to be able to see. But I think by the time we come out of that Gold Cup break, it's a tricky few weeks, because these are difficult games coming up for TFC. The Red Bulls, Columbus a couple of times, Orlando, NYC. These aren't your Cincinnatis. So, it's going to be a difficult few weeks, and they need to start picking up some points.
Very difficult.
Absolutely.
Let's talk a little bit about tonight, Luke. Is there a chance that we see a miracle in Mexico? Did TFC have what it takes to score 3 goals? 3 goals tonight at the Azteca.
I think we lost him.
Did we lose Luke for there?
He might come back.
Hold
I mean,
on
he's
one
still-
second.
Oh, okay, cool.
Okay.
He lost his video.
You can still hear me?
Oh yeah,
Yeah, we
yeah.
can still hear
Okay,
you.
I've
You
lost
can
the
go.
camera for some reason, so
No worries, no worries. This is technology.
Did you hear the question, Luke?
I heard the question, yeah, and I'm just trying to find the camera again and give him see if there's any more diplomatic way to put it. No,
It's like talking to Hal. I love it.
Oh, here we go. Start camera. That's probably the one.
Yeah.
You know, the big red button at the bottom of the screen with a thing through it that says start camera. I'm trying to unplug it, plug it back in. See, someone does this for you when you're on the television, right?
Yeah, yeah.
When
exactly.
you're stuck in the basement, it's I think the difficulty is that Cruz Azul are a team right now that are playing extremely well. They're a team that has an identity. They're a team that has a pace about what they do. They're a team that is probably right now one of the top 1, if not 2, in Liga MX on a long unbeaten run. You're going to the Azteca. You haven't got a fully fit squad. I just think that Cruz Azul will have too much for TFC tonight. We've seen it before. And to be honest, there are so many times I mentioned about Leon in the first game, not really giving them much of a chance there. And they proved me wrong in both legs. Because even after the first leg, I thought, okay, well, Leon probably in the second leg are going to have too much. They'll realize what they didn't do in the first leg. They'll come out. I'll just look back to 2018. And I'm trying to think which the game was. It might have been the first leg of the final against Chivas. It was either that one or the Club America game. You guys might have a better memory than me. Once you get to my age, you have to write everything down. I know I'm not
Get
like
out of here.
that age, early 40s, and I seriously I cannot remember as much now as when I was like early 20s and doing games. I could remember every single detail of every game that happened in the last decade, right? But now I think once you have kids and it's like, anyway.
It's also, I mean, you've got extra decades now, right?
Well, that's
like, there's
true.
a lot,
That is true.
It's a much bigger sample size. So don't sell
I
yourself
remember
short.
being sat on the gardener underneath the gardener, because as usual, the gardener traffic was a disaster. So you think, okay, I'm going to get out of this and get to BMO by going on the lakeshore, and it won't be a problem. And then the lakeshore's even worse. And then you realize how many times I'm going to do this before I realize it's stupid. So it was about, I don't know, 3:30, 4 o'clock in the afternoon ahead of the game at night. And we get the lineup sent to us ahead of time to prepare the broadcast. And it was either Chivas or Club America. And it came through and it had 5-6 first-time team regulars missing. And it was like Ashton Morgan was playing in the team. There was a whole whack of guys who wouldn't usually have been in there, playing in different positions and all that sort of stuff. And I thought, okay, here we go. This is it. It's a waste of, what's the point even turning up? Because there's no way they're going to be able to hang in this game or whatever. It's done. They haven't got. And they went out and they managed to prove everybody wrong and had a run that in the end was equal, if not better than any other MLS team has ever had. So never write TFC off. But going into Mexico and the Azteca tonight, write them off. And I'm happy. I'm happy to be proved wrong, but just having seen that first leg and so early in Chris Armas's time when he's still trying to get his ideas and his mentality into it. If you've got Pozuelo and you've got Soteldo and you've got Kamal Lawrence and you're another 2 months into it and everybody knows their roles and they know how they're playing and they're defending set pieces a bit better, then sure, I would back this club on any night, on any occasion, but not tonight.
Let's finish on this then, Luke. Another weekend on TSN against the New York Red Bulls, and that's because it's against his former team. How much of the new coach in terms of wanting to is better than his former?
Did you discern that, Luke?
I think it's I think it's about Chris Armas going back to the Red Bulls, wanting to prove that he's now at a better club.
Oh my goodness!
How big of a statement is that? Yeah.
When we did Footy Talks last year, there was one show when we had Dero on.
Oh no, we had Dero on our show as well.
Right. Well, I hope his internet connection was better than yours because he's got a book, by the way.
It wasn't, Luke. It wasn't. It wasn't at all.
Great job done by Brendan Dunlop and Dero there on the book, which is coming out soon.
Yeah.
But D-Row couldn't hear a thing, so I'm writing things down onto a piece of paper to hold up on the camera.
You were using props. You were like,
Miracle in
tell us
Montreal. Talk
the
about that
book.
for 2 minutes, and then it's
Yeah.
So yeah,
we were taking notes. We went first, but yeah.
Look,
it was very much appreciated. We saw how a pro would have done it. We were just like, what do we do? Anyway,
I think after everything that's gone on with Chris Armas, Ali Curtis as well, this is going to be a game with a lot more meaning. Chris Armas will probably give the answer that everyone would expect in that, it's a bit special, but right now I'm at a different club. Doesn't matter. What we do here is more important than going back and proving point to anybody else. Anytime, any day, any year, going into Red Bull Arena is always going to be an issue, and it has been for TFC on a number of occasions down the years. I remember, 4 or 5 goal defeats, or players getting sent off, or even back to that rainy night at Giants Stadium on Goal TV back in 2009. Was it when they lost 5? Needed a point to get in the playoffs, lost 5-0. The storm delayed us for however long, and it was an absolute disaster.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, this is going to mean so much more to Chris Armas because of the way that they left. But also, I think there is that certain point where he's still got a team right now that isn't, although he's made some changes, and it's very much a Chris Armas team in the way they want to play. It's not a Chris Armas team in that they haven't had enough time yet to get them into the standard, the actual level that he wants and the way that he wants them to play. So while I think he would love nothing more than to go there and come away with a positive result on Saturday, I don't think it's all doom and gloom if they go, in terms of the decision that he's made, and is TFC a bigger club than the Red Bulls, or what he's got there, all that sort of stuff. That doesn't really hinge on the outcome of Saturday. Although I will say, the Red Bulls have struggled a little bit at the start of the season. They got a win last weekend. Gerhard Struber still finding a way to get into it nice. So we'll see. But Chris Armas would love to bring Jefferson Soteldo off the bench on Saturday for the last 10 minutes and him banging the winning goal at Red Bull Arena, and to be able to leave there with 3 points in his pocket. I'm sure nothing more.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You mentioned the struggles there a little bit, Luke, and here's a little tidbit for you. 13-2-2 is the New York Red Bulls record at home against Toronto FC. 13 wins, 2 losses, 2 draws.
Yeah.
So, I mean, what a statement it would be for Chris Armas to go into there and pick up 3 points against that team.
Yeah, and when you look at that and you look at what they've done in recent years there, I go back to the playoff win in 2017. And to be able to go in there during the playoffs and do that against the Red Bulls just showed you what a special team that was, right? And showed you how ultimately going on to win MLS Cup was about a group that had an ability to get the job done. And although there are still a lot of players within the TFC team now, that 2017 team had something that was special. And I don't think, yes, there's big game experience amongst the TFC lineup at the moment, but there isn't still that intangible of knowing that in any game, at any moment, you can win it. And you get that by going through a season like they did with that Supporters' Shield winning season, driven by a lot of the players. Michael Bradley, of course, is still there. But, just seeing someone like Victor Vasquez and what he's now doing at LA Galaxy, how crucial he was to that team that year. But to be able to go into the Red Bulls on that night in the playoffs, like you say, in a place where in the past it's not been good, just showed you how good that moment was. I think there was a win a couple of years ago before that on opening day when they scored it 1-2-0 and they scored a penalty. Marky Delgado got a goal that day. But yeah, wins few and far between at Harrison, New Jersey, which is one of the stadiums that I miss the most actually going to.
Nice stadium.
If it was full,
doesn't it smell?
If it was
isn't
full,
there like
incredible. But it's probably as close to the European style stadium as you're going to get in terms of the bowl that's in there, the closeness to the seats, the fact that we got to stay in a really swanky hotel on the Hudson River looking across to Manhattan. And, it's a 30-minute cab journey to go and walk around Manhattan all day. and then do the game at night. And actually, the broadcast position there, when they made Red Bull Arena, they had the broadcast booths, really nice booths on the executive level, right in the middle. And then they thought, why are we putting the broadcasters in there? We can sell these booths, we can pay a lot more money, and they get a great view around halfway. Well, where can we put the broadcasters? Because we got this really nice new stadium, and we're going to take their booth away, and there's not really any more space to build another booth. Oh, I know. We'll put them on the roof. Right? So,
I was going to say a system of wheels and
we're on the
pulleys.
roof.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
you go all the way up to the top. You go on the fire escape out onto the roof of the stadium.
Get out of here.
If you look to the left, if you go out to the left when you get up there, you can actually look down. There aren't very many like high barriers. You can look down and see everybody coming in. Like, and if Stevie wanted to push me off, I would be gone.
No,
then
sir.
you turn and they basically put these two porta cabins on top of the roof, which you call the game from, which is a fantastic view when you're up there.
Yeah.
And it
Did you have to sign a release?
It sounds horrendous, but actually some of the best views are those types of views where, a couple of them in England where you would go up at Norwich City to get to the TV gantry. You'd go up the outside of the stand on an actual ladder with a thing around, and you're climbing up to the top with your bag on your back, and you go along the roof down, and you're just hanging suspended on this gantry from the roof. But the view is incredible, right? Well, sometimes you have to take one for the team in order to. But no, Red Bull Arena is much safer than that. But great view. And unfortunately, we'll be calling the game off monitor at the weekend, but so it won't be quite the same. But yeah, it's and also the other thing about that is you get to go to Carlos's bake shop in Hoboken on the day of the game just to stock up on great cakes and stuff. So yeah.
I don't want to be weighted down with all of that sugar when you're trying to scale Everest in order to call the game. That's just my personal opinion.
I will say a big benefit to not being on the road all the time is I'm 20 pounds lighter. Seriously, you go away and you start in March, and we used to be going away every weekend, especially if there was a season where we did even more Vancouver games than TFC, the way the schedules worked out. And I was going to the West Coast, and I'm coming back from a game at night, walking back from BC Place past all these like McDonald's and all these different places, and taking 3 slices of pizza and at the equivalent of 2 in the morning Eastern time, right. The hotel from Salt Lake, and everyone going to the bar. Oh, I'll have a Caesar salad and throw me some fries and all that. Like it just, you can't live like that without it causing a problem, right? Because also you're spending much more time in planes and things like that, which means you won't be able to do as much exercise. And I never met a hotel gym that I actually liked. So, but yeah, so that's the only one of the small benefits, apart from having a lot more time at home, is that you eat a lot less and actually are in better shape calling games off monitor than all that travel and being on the road.
Sweet,
awesome
sweet
stuff.
Luke. I'm gonna play Mitch because he's missing in action. His internet is gone, and thank you for your time.
No problem.
Super generous, Luke.
Absolutely. It was a pleasure to do this, and we look forward to hearing you call on the weekend. And let's go Reds.
No worries. I'll just show you one thing here because no one's actually picked up on it yet. But you mentioned that I moved my studio, and it all came about. I used to be in one of the kids' bedrooms, and then the kid actually needed the bedroom, so I had to move. So now I'm in the basement. But one of the things I got, hopefully my camera doesn't, because it does
the red card
zoom thing before. But this is the
not the red.
There we go.
Oh no!
We're good.
Okay.
This is the only TFC bobblehead ever made, right?
Yeah, the Julian de Guzman bobblehead. Yeah.
Julian de Guzman. And it was actually, I don't know if you guys remember it, they weren't even giving it away at BMO Field. It was a giveaway at the Marlies.
Oh, wow.
On Marley TFC night. Because if you remember, a long time ago, there was actually a Marlies and TFC, like TFC night.
Yeah, they used to offer me tickets all the time. I think I took them up on it once or twice.
And they were giving away this Julian de Guzman bobblehead.
Wild.
So there you go, a piece of TFC history there.
Have you shown that to Julian?
Mike, if you want it,
It's funny because when he came in for the playoffs last year, and someone said, "Oh, it's great to have Julian on the broadcast for the first time." I said, "You obviously haven't been paying attention because he's been there all the time." So there you go.
Awesome stuff, top shelf stuff. As people in our chat are saying, Luke's the best. Great having Luke on. Thanks. Yeah, but Luke, again, thank you very much. Super generous with your time, and one of these days we'll have to have you on longer because you have plenty of stories to tell, as we've been witness to today. So thank you again.
It's always good to chat, especially when you're home with 3 kids all day. It's nice to get a little break at lunchtime.
Amazing,
Awesome.
guys. Thank you so much.
Cheers, Luke. Of course,
All
that
right,
was Luke Wileman, the voice of Toronto FC, TSN play-by-play, and top shelf guest. So thank you, Luke, for joining in. I'm just gonna grab my charger here so my laptop doesn't die.
Man, everybody's going down. The prep for this episode was just man, gold standard.
Gold standard.
I didn't get to ask him about how often he practices pronunciation, so I'll have to table that question for next time.
It's okay. I'm sure it would have been another 15-minute answer because
was he ever engaged? Oh my goodness! Oh my goodness! Mike, what do you want to do? You want to next on the rundown? We got Liam Frazier, and then
let's do it.
Mike. Yeah, let's talk Liam. So you want to set the table?
Of course. Liam Frazier was officially loaned out on Monday, which was yesterday. He got sent to the defending MLS Cup champions Columbus Crew. He's reunite there with Tim Bezbatchenko, who, of course, I believe signed Liam Frazier originally to a homegrown contract. So it's someone who he's familiar with. And in exchange, TFC are receiving $50,000 in our favorite kind of currency, general allocation money. So more salary cap room. So overall, my instant takeaway is it's an opportunity for Liam Frazier. Finally, it's an opportunity that he gets that he never got here in Toronto. So with Aiden Morris going down there, Aiden Morris going down there for Columbus Crew, Liam Frazier now has a chance to really step in, and they like what they see out of Liam so far. I mean, they had a really great press release, really touting Liam and what he could do. And, it's something that we've been hyping up here on our show for a very long time. So let's see if he gets this fair run of play and if he can take advantage of it, because he has ability to play a specific role for Columbus, and perhaps he can shine.
2 caveats. The first came through due diligence on the WTR threads, and that is he cannot take the field playing against TFC, which it sounds MLS-y enough that I think it may be true. And the second was my knee-jerk reaction was a big old WTF. And then as I started to think about it a bit, it's just the Columbus thing. I mean, it's not even Bezbatchenko reunited. It was the fact, that we're giving a prospect to our direct competition, and the reigning MLS Cup champions who have they've got BWP as a super sub. Like, how deep can this team possibly be? And it occurred to me that what was it? Something about location and COVID probably played into this transfer more so than the Bezbatchenko angle, or at least I'm allowing for that margin.
How so?
So that it doesn't. Well, just travel restrictions and stuff like that. I want to believe that there's a certain pandemic angle to this transfer that precipitated going to Columbus.
I don't understand. I mean, they play
Neither
in the
do
States. So does every other team in the States play in the States.
I just don't like. I'm reaching for excuses because I don't like the fact that he went to Columbus.
Well, I think it's also like there aren't many teams. No offense to Liam Frazier right now, but that are able to take on a Liam Frazier onto their roster and guarantee him in a competitive environment to have minutes. Like, we don't know how many suitors were actually out there for Liam Frazier and how many suitors were willing to give up a little bit of general allocation money for him in return. Maybe TFC needed that $50,000, in allocation money to turn around and sign Kamar Lawrence. We don't have the book, so potentially that's also a factor. But I think the big thing is the Tim Bezbatchenko familiarity. Is Liam Frazier is going to be, perhaps going into a system that I don't want to say he's too familiar with, but like he'll be at least aware of.
Mm-hmm.
And Richard's asking here in the chat, is he guaranteed time though? I don't know if there's an actual guarantee in his contract, but if Columbus is taking him on loan, I'd imagine that there is some sort of guarantee from Columbus that this guy is going to get minutes. And again, Aidan Morris, who was the 19-year-old homegrown prospect who was, just tearing up the scene there in Columbus early on, he went down with a season-ending injury there in the midfield. So there is a really big need for someone like Liam Frazier there in Columbus. Let's just, as I spoke to Jonathan Osorio about this yesterday, actually, about Liam Frazier's mood, because Liam Frazier is someone who he looked up to Osorio a lot.
Right.
Like he's been on record saying like Osorio is one of his role models at the club. He's someone who asks questions, and Osorio is also a Canadian who kind of paved his way for Toronto FC. So they have a really deep connection there. And Osorio put it kind of the best way. He said that it wasn't Liam Frazier's fault. Liam Frazier didn't do anything really wrong. This is just sort of a breath of fresh air for him, a fresh start, and hopefully like he takes advantage of that, because that's all he's been sort of asking for, is a real opportunity, which of course he didn't get in Toronto with the amount of midfield depth that they have. So I mean, does this move hurt Toronto FC? I don't know if it does too much, to be honest with you, because Liam Frazier barely gets played anyways.
Yeah.
And they have other options who have emerged this season. Of course, we're talking about Ralph Priso and Noble Okello. They've emerged significantly as depth pieces, let alone the Osorio, the Delgados, the Bradleys.
Conundrum. Yeah, exactly.
Luke was asking about, where's Osorio going to play in the midfield when Soteldo gets in the lineup? I mean, where was Liam Frazier going to play in the midfield when Soteldo gets in the lineup? You know what I mean?
True.
So
it's true.
If there was one position, one player maybe that they could have loaned out, it is Liam Frazier. Another tidbit that I'll add, I've heard this, I haven't confirmed it. I've heard it from a couple people, though, that Liam Frazier is entering the last year of his contract with Toronto FC. So could this be the end of Liam Frazier's time with Toronto? I mean, there is a possibility. There's also a possibility he re-ups and re-signs here, because this is the one place that he's told us he wants to succeed. There's nothing like occupying the middle of the park for your hometown club. There's no feeling like that in the world, he said. So there is still his hope that he does come back, but I wouldn't be surprised if this is the end of Liam Frazier's time in Toronto. Anything else to add on that? Yeah,
we got a question. Does he count as a domestic? And I'm of the opinion that he occupies an international slot for Columbus. Canadian players are internationals when they cross the border. And we've been rallying about that little stupidity in MLS roster rules for a very long time. So I'm prepared to make that my answer.
I believe that's the case, yeah, and that's another reason why I believe there weren't too many suitors for Liam Frazier.
Yeah.
And if it came down between loaning him to Montreal or loaning him to Columbus, I think 10 out of 10 times he'd choose Columbus, just because Montreal is our immediate rival. So that's sort of my opinion. Obviously, his history with the Whitecaps as well. I don't know how much he would have loved to go back to that organization, but. I just think it's a fresh start
great
for Liam
swap
Frazier.
For Sam Piet. I know Mitch isn't here, but great swap for Sammy P. We'll throw
Mitch will get all over that. Anything else to add here on Liam Frazier before we move on, Jeff?
No, I'm just gonna sort out the Michael Singh injury update. So tell me when to roll it. All right.
Let's do it whenever you're ready.
All right.
It's the Michael Singh Injury Report.
Okay, so another edition of the Michael Singh Injury Report. Shout out Kevin for that voiceover, because that was awesome and great stuff, Jeff, making that intro.
Thank you.
The good news, guys, is we have a shorter injury report to go through now. The team is getting healthier. So we can talk about Achara and Julian Dunn, who are still going to be out for the I guess foreseeable future. Nothing too extreme. Eric Zangardo goes under that belt too. One thing about Achara is I saw him post some clips of himself training on Instagram, and he looks good. Achara looks good. So
I hear he's getting half his salary in Bitcoin now, which was interesting. I saw that tweet yesterday. There you go, early adopter. Anyway, sorry to distract you, but go ahead.
Yeah, no, it's fine. So yeah, Achara looks like he's, I saw him do some crazy keep ups and a turnaround volley like he's looked like he's getting there. So I wouldn't be surprised as soon as there's, I think he needs to sit out at least 4 more MLS matches. I wouldn't be surprised if we see him sometime, I'd say in June or July.
Sweet.
Obviously, Erickson Gardo still has about 4 weeks left to recover from his groin surgery. Julian Dunn, we don't know what the status there. And the last one on the injury report is Alejandro Pozuelo, which of course is the big one. And the reigning MVP's absence will be another huge loss, I guess, to navigate past. What I will say is he is getting closer. Like he was doing a week ago, he was doing significant dryland training, sort of on the same kind of path as Chris Mavinga. I don't know if he's back training with the club. I believe he is.
He's on the roster, though. He's on the CCL roster.
He's on the CCL roster, but I don't know if he's on the 23-man roster. Okay. He's probably on the larger roster, which I mean every club has to submit. But I'm not sure if he's on that matchday roster. I didn't see that tweet that people are referring to. I could be wrong about that, but it could just be a matter of if there was a chance that he does play, then he would be there because TFC have to submit that within 44 hours, I believe. So maybe he was kind of on the fringe, and again, you don't really want to take that risk with the reigning MVP, and who knows,
right?
That strain.
So this just could be gamesmanship, like, oh no, Paz is coming back, and then he doesn't.
Perhaps, but maybe it's Chris Armas and the media with a little bit of gamesmanship, saying Pozuelo's out, although he hasn't done that yet so far. So I wouldn't bet on Pozuelo making an appearance tonight. I really wouldn't bet on that.
We got asked what's his injury. It's a thigh concern, right? A thigh strain is the
strain. Yeah, thigh strain, I believe. He suffered it April 1st against the Columbus Crew in their last preseason match. So you never know with injuries like that. Sometimes it can take like 4 to 6 weeks. So we'll see. We'll see what happens there. I've been saying, according to Ollie, Pozuelo is available for tonight. Perhaps, again, he might be on that 23-man roster, but when it comes
down, it could be his brother, like Julian Pozuelo or something.
yeah. But when it comes down to it, he might not be on that 18 match like actual squad. So who knows? So if he does, hey, that would be a massive boost for Toronto FC. But is this the game you really want to be risking Paz coming back in? We're down 3-1 on aggregate. If he's not 100%, is it worth the risk? Obviously, we've talked about how much we want to win Champions League here. And
yes, and it supersedes all logic. I want that trophy.
Yeah, we still got a full season ahead of us. You never know what could happen if he's not 100%, right?
I'm aware.
But yeah, let's talk about the injuries a little bit, Jeff, because you were pretty adamant yesterday about TFC's inability to sort of handle injuries.
It's just exhausting. It's exhausting. I'm exhausted. The end of the day, what we should really have Tej on so that he can sort of be the median for us to sound off our hot takes on each other. But to me, when people say, well, the sports science department is doing their job because everybody's getting healthier, and this is not really a shot against you. It's a shot against that line of thinking. People are going to get healthier whether they have a medical support staff or not.
I don't think that was really the point, Jeff. I think it was more so new people haven't been added. It's not more so people are getting healthier.
And that's fair.
It's about new people haven't been added, right?
That's fair. But for me, and Tej said this in it always comes back to Paz. He left the field healthy at the end of last season.
That's not true.
He's playing injured, but he
said in his post media, like his end of season press conference, he picked up a leg injury and he was playing through that.
Listen, I don't think the sports science department deserves our trust and deserves any plaudits and deserves any hand waving. And I see it too often. And I got back from a long day at work yesterday. And, the thought of going into the Azteca with strong language and half a sandwich, because it's essentially bringing a knife to a gunfight. And CCL is important to me. And, it's time to start throwing some elbows because this is starting to feel a bit endemic, these soft tissue injuries. And then out come the usual parade of excuses, and now they've been exponentially raised by pandemic, which is valid. I mean, all of these excuses are valid, but at what point do we start saying, you know, you guys, this is a professional sports club, and the infrastructure are supposed to be working professionals, and this is unacceptable. It's unacceptable. I don't know if now is the time, because like you said yesterday, and like I just said myself, there are a lot of variables to consider. We've had 3 home games and played in 3 separate stadiums. We're not playing in our home pitch. Training is interrupted. We're living through a pandemic. The margins have to be greater. But you know, it's still, you know, there are days where it feels like the same old, and you know, there's just all of this hand waving going on, and examples plucked from the ether about why we're no different. But here we are, you know, and you know, at the end of the day, it's unacceptable to me. You name me a team that's competitive with 1/3 of their starters out on ice perpetually. It just doesn't wash, you know. I know you disagree with me, so we'll just leave it at that.
I'll let you finish there, but here's what I'll add to that is preseason. I mean, I wrote an article about this. This isn't something that I haven't seen. You know, this is a narrative that's been going around Toronto FC for as long as, you know, we can think back to at this point, right?
Exactly.
But as Colin's pointing out in our chat, there's a new sports science group. There's a new team that's coming. Hold on. There's a new team that's coming in there. So there's that they're dealing with. Obviously, preseason, Chris Armas told us that the transition wasn't the best at the club. Like, were people checking in on the guys as new staff were coming in? Who was the people doing that? Obviously, yes, you would expect a new team to be able to handle that. But in my opinion, you got to give this team also a kind of a clean slate. You can't really tack them on to the previous 3 years of Toronto FC because it is a new team there. So there's that. Also, COVID is a real thing. COVID's a very real factor.
I'm allowing for it.
That interrupted TFC's training camp. And when you have a training camp that gets interrupted, who knows what that does? Like, none of us have hope. I mean, like, I hope that none of us have been through and experienced what COVID's like. We don't know who got COVID. We don't know, you know, what else is going to be going down there in that training camp. Especially when the start of the season, nobody knew when the start of the season would be. There was negotiations that were happening up until the very last week there of February, where people are trying to figure out when this actual start of the season would be. So then you have Chris Armas coming in, and you have Chris Armas's new style of play coming in. Michael Bradley told us what kind of intensity Chris Armas is offering in training. He said it was a 26 out of 10. That was Chris Armas's first day, right? And at the end of the day, if that's who Chris Armas is, you have to start implementing that at a certain time. That has to be in preseason. That's just the way it is, and people's bodies will adjust to that. Obviously, it's also, you know, did they mess up at the start of the season? Perhaps, yes. A lot of those injuries were preceding injuries, were injuries that happened before Chris Armas arrived, like Achara, like Julian Dunn, like there was another one, Io Akinola. Like, those injuries were already, some of them already did happen, so Chris Armas can't really do anything about that. But there have been knocks that the team has picked up in training. That being said, Chris Armas was open about saying how it's an art and it's a science to balancing the injuries. He was saying that it's a learning process, and I think so far the team has learned about
when do we stop, Mike? I agree with everything you said, and COVID changes the metrics entirely. Like, I'm not going to posit that, but when do we start? Like, because it, you know, it may be historical bias. It certainly is, but when is enough enough? Like, there'll never be a perfect time. You know, it doesn't have to be right now. And you know, again, this is a dangerous line of questioning because COVID changes everything. But taking COVID out of the equation, you know, there will always be an outgoing administration. There will always be injuries. There will always, you know what I mean? There will always be variables that need to be accounted for. And this hand waving away, these are paid professionals. It's not good enough. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, it's not good enough. There are other teams in MLS that are just as injured as they are, but they're not missing their reigning MVP, and they don't change the goalposts on injury rehabilitation as often as our team does. There's something rotten in the state of Denmark, and you know, it again, you know, this is not the time to have this conversation because COVID. I appreciate that. But
well, it's not just that. It's also Alejandro Pozuelo has been one of TFC's healthiest. He was the first player in franchise history to appear in every single match last season.
I agree. That
the first player in franchise history to appear in every single match. And then he picked up a thigh strain in a preseason game. Not even a training session, a preseason game. Are you going to rush Pozuelo back? It's just, if he says, like,
well, who made the decision? You just.
I think it's a combination of both Pozuelo and the training staff.
But Mike, you just sort of made my argument for me. You said this is the first time in history any TFC player has played every game of the season. Who made the decision to play him every game of the season? Because
Last season?
Because that obviously led to his injury, right? Something is not working here. Well, I mean, it's a fatigue-based injury, so the fact that he played every game, causality would suggest. I'm not a trained medical professional, but at the end of the day, you know, those two things have a very, very
Can injuries happen without fatigue? Can injuries happen?
Of course you do, but you don't dance with the devil. You don't dance with the devil. I mean, listen, you know, he played every game last season and it's wonderful and it's a great stat, but now he's injured. So the question has to be asked.
But he got injured in preseason.
Well, because
3 months later. 4 months later.
Listen, if you can't ignore the causality of that.
But we don't know about the injury. We don't know how it happened. We don't know the build up to that.
But if I'm going to speculate, I'm not going to hand wave away the fact that he's injured, and I'm not going to eliminate that variable from my debate. It's a necessary factor that contributes to why he may be dealing with an injury right now. You know what I mean?
I think there's a lot of different factors that could have gone into it. That could have been one.
4 months being having his nutrition and his fitness monitored by our very expensive sports team. You know, again, and he's injured. So somebody that is making a lot more money than I made it a horrible decision with millions of dollars worth of talent, or they didn't. But because we don't know. But if there's even the outside possibility that they did, that question needs to be asked. And the hand waving is exhausting, because I want to win CCL and I want my team to put their best foot forward. And I
hear that. I hear that. But as you know, Sahara's saying in the chat here, but then why are we trying to rush him back? What if he re-injures himself?
Because we don't know. But
you're right, we don't know, but they know.
Why are we? But do they? Because we're injured all the damn time. I don't think they know anything. I think they're guessing the same way we are, and we're paying them to guess. I would much rather replace them with people that we're not paying to guess, because the proof is in the pudding. Man.
But they literally did replace half the people there this season. They literally did that.
Let's see. That's
what I'm saying. Because so far they've done, the last 2 weeks, they've done their job. They've prevented injuries the last 2 weeks. Let's see how it goes moving forward. But I agree, it wasn't the best start for this team. But like I said, a lot of factors, including COVID, which I know you don't like to give up fact, but it's a real thing.
I give you all the credence for COVID. I'm saying that I absolutely agree with you, and it's changed everything, and that it should be taken into a immeasurable account. And that's why having this conversation puts me at a disadvantage, but I'm still going to play devil's advocate here, because I don't like all this hand waving. I don't like it. It feels like excuses now. And we got a new medical team. They're trained professionals. Part of their job should be stepping in and picking up the slack of a previous medical team. So when we say we've got to give them the benefit of the doubt for this and the benefit of the doubt for that, when do we start saying, no, actually, we're going to hold your feet to the coals because you have a certain responsibility, and by and large, we're talking about your failures. So it's not good enough. That's just what I'm saying. And I'm willing to eat crow, but if the same thing happens with this shiny new medical team, then real difficult questions needed to be asked, because
Agreed.
Yeah,
but it should have been asked like 4 weeks ago. But anyways, Richard saying, I'm not
Why'd you
convinced
put
there are people who are making money. Have you seen Jeff's kit collection?
Oh my God, Richard. I didn't order custom Legos from like every reseller on the planet to make my PM.
That's
anyway,
so
let's
funny.
stop this. I love you, Mike.
Yeah. No. It's a great debate. As people are saying, it's a great debate. I just like last point, like you're saying, if Paz playing all the games last year led to the injury of Saharsi in here.
I'm not.
Shouldn't we be?
That.
I thought you said that.
No, but I'm saying to ignore the potential for causality.
So shouldn't we be more careful this time around?
I would say so, judging by recent history, that maybe, judging from the fact that he's injured now, you don't expect him to play every game once he gets back. That to me is common sense. I don't think that's, obviously there.
Okay, let's move on.
Yeah.
I like that conversation. I like, everyone else in the chat was engaged. We see all of your comments. We appreciate
we see
that.
them all. Except the ones that call me an idiot, because I can't read those ones.
This is a very, very long show. Sophia, we appreciate you bearing with us. We barely even talked about Cruz Azul TFC tonight. One point I just quickly want to make on that is Cruz Azul's entering this match undefeated, and I think their last 17 matches in all competitions. So ridiculous. We know the stage has been set for tonight. We know what TFC needs to do. They need to go out into the Azteca, one of the most famed stadiums in all of world soccer, and they need to try and figure out a way to score 3 goals. They've done. So they've found success at the Azteca in the past. Obviously, it was the 1-1 against Club America, I think in the semifinals of the CONCACAF Champions League in 2018 when they made that miraculous run. And on that day, that goal scorer, guess who it was? That was Jonathan Osorio. And he's back tonight. He scored the last two. He scored the last 2 TFC matches. He only managed to play about 50 minutes last time out. He's now got a full week of training under his belt. We expect a little bit more Jonathan Osorio tonight. In terms of the lineup, as Nicholas is asking here in the chat, TFC is going to put out a more veteran side, is what I've been told.
Okay.
Is that they, I don't know if we'll see. We'll still see. Like I'm sure I'm sure Ralph Priest might find his way into that, and I'm sure Jacob Schaffelberg might play a role.
Yeah, but
I don't know.
And Luke Singh.
Exactly. Yeah. I don't know if we have too much depth there in terms of the kids. And one more comment I just wanted to bring up very quickly is this is what Oliver's tweet was. Thank you, Ivan, here for putting it in the chat. So the registered squad for TFC Live, which was today, obviously. They're going to be missing Achara, Griffin Dorsey, Julian Dunn, Erickson Gallardo, Jaquil Marcharuti, Jordan Perusa, Jefferson Soteldo, and Pozuelo's apparently on the roster. Here's what I say about that quickly, is that there's a 23-man match roster that TFC have to submit. If you know you're not playing, they only have 28 guys on their roster right now. If you know you're not playing 5 of those guys, you're going to throw everyone else on the roster just in case, because they don't have to play everyone who's named to that roster. So TFC have a lot of depth there at striker. People are asking about Jordan Perusa. Well, I mean, they don't really need Jordan Perusa right now on their roster because they have so much.
Isn't he injured right now? Didn't he also?
I didn't see his name on the injury report. So
okay, good.
I don't know if he's injured. But he's not on the roster because TFC got Josie Altidore and Io Akinola back, right? And then they have Patrick Mullins. Why would you throw another striker onto that roster? That just it's surplus of resources there, so that really doesn't make sense.
Josie and Ao off, you got Patrick Mullins. We're good. Is there going to be fans in the Azteca tonight? Do we know that?
I heard there wasn't. going to be fans.
Then we're in with a Bluffers chance.
If there is, it'll be very limited. But yeah.
If there's no fans, I think it really works in our advantage because that place is intimidating.
Anyways, like I've said at the beginning of the episode, I think I smell some magic in the air tonight, folks. I think this is a good place to sort of wrap up. We've gone super long, and again, thank you to Sophia for joining us and bearing with us today.
And thank you for Mitch for
ditching us,
letting us get into a rip roaring good time. Yeah.
Just worse, Brett. We didn't have Mitch as our mediator, so we're able to go back and forth at each other. Hey, it created some good content, guys.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah, so on that note, hopefully TFC bring this home tonight. We'll be rooting for them. Remember, late start, 10:15 p.m. Thank you, Luke Wileman, for joining us, of course. Luke was an awesome guest. We'll blame him for this show going long because his stories are amazing. And we'll see everybody tonight. We're doing our live thread on Wake in the Red, so make sure you guys stay tuned for that. And thank you guys once again for being in the comments. You guys were very lively today, and we really appreciate
really
that.
appreciate it. It engages us. We feed off it. It gives us energy. So it's
exactly, and hopefully the Reds feed off that tonight as well. So on that note, this thank you Footy Talks for producing us again, and we'll see you guys next week.